M.M Out There again, and we're back here for part 2 of an interview with the Apostle Leroy Scantlebury. So as we were saying,
Yes, sir.
we were talking about Nikki Beach, and I was willing to wager that they don't even have 10 people from 6 Men's, even if it's sweeping, or one of the valets who are dressed in white over there, driving the cars in and out, or checking the stock or something, or even walking up and down the beach. Not 10. That's a ridiculous situation. Don't you think?
Well, as I said in our last interview, that it's really an unfortunate situation. I think, again, when entities are coming into Barbados, I think there's a need for community spirit. You're going to be working within a community. You want to be able to make connection with that community at some level, whether it's offering some level of training, some level of employment, whatever you do, whether you give back to the community, whether you support events within that community. These are things that are very, very important that can build strong relationships. One of the things that I've seen over and over again, especially in St. Peter, is that a lot of the newer businesses and entities that are in St. Peter are not very supportive of what's going on in St. Peter, not even with the youth. I mean, back then, when I was younger, we had football teams, we had cricket teams, we had netball teams. I remember to the point that the Black Best netball team was one of the best netball teams in Barbados. They had a very vibrant cricket team. They had a very strong football team, Indian ground as well in terms of their cricket. And
I'll give an example. There was a basketball team in the same Queen Street, Baselanders or something like that.
Yes,
It actually
yes.
went to the top division.
Yeah, yes.
If I remember well.
And we had businesses here, the lumber company, and those businesses actively supported the young people, actively supported what was going on within the community. We are not seeing that today. And I think it's going to lend to a lot of the demise of our youth, and also Spikestown as a business hub, because we're no longer seeing that community involvement, the correlation between the people of the constituency and the businesses that actually are within that constituency. So I think that's something that needs to change.
I'll tell you what Nikki Beach does. Plays loud music and keep people awake at night. And nobody seems to complain. 1, 2 o'clock, loud, outrageous music. Not even peaceful music. Wild, outrageous music. That's what they do. And I'm quite sure that if different people were living around there, that could not be done. See? Those are the type of things that you need to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
See? And don't take it standing down. Now, Spikes down. When are they going to fix that wharf that's out there before somebody goes out there and drowns or something?
Well, I have no idea when that is going to be fixed. I know that I had the opportunity to speak to one businessman here in Spikestown who told me personally that he was willing to put his money towards fixing it, but he was turned down. Okay?
He was turned down by who?
He was turned down by the former government.
Yes.
Okay? So I know that there have been efforts to fix the jetty, but to no avail. The other element of Spikestown that's very, very important, I think a lot of people don't really know the history of Spikestown, that the major industry in Spikestown back in the day was whaling.
Whaling?
Yes,
Well,
whaling.
I remember my grandmother telling me that as a young girl, she would see the whales up and down.
Yes, yeah.
And her grandfather actually caught whales.
Yes. Well, that was a major industry here in Spikestown back in the day, which is one of the reasons why we had so many schooners here in Spikestown. For instance, in terms of the history, there's an area where Bella Reeve is. That area.
Bella Reeve is
Bella
that?
Reeve, over by the roundabout. Okay.
The roundabout
by the family church.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That area
That's
is
for the people who are listening that just passed Alexandra School going south. That's what you mean?
Yes, we're going
Right.
south. Okay.
Or Alexandra School above again going south. Either way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that area, we refer to that area as Batalis.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the correct pronunciation is Battle Alley.
Battle Alley.
Battle Alley.
Was there some form of defense or something?
That's where the battle actually took place here in St. Peter back in the day over by Scantlebury's River, where the boundary actually starts.
What battle?
Well, there's a battle between the English and the Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The English one, of course.
Of course, and that's one of the reasons why you'll find that in terms of the housing going from on the west coast leading through St. James, those were the houses where the captains and the sergeants of the British Army lived. So over the years,
the barracks.
yeah. So over the years, they developed into what we know as these lavish guest houses. But what I want us to understand, and what I want to say to our listeners, is that I've seen where over the years, because I lived in St. Peter all my life, so I've seen a lot of the changes that took place. I saw a lot of the business. I grew up with a lot of businesses that were here in St. Peter, especially in Spikestown. Spikestown was a hub for St. Andrews, St. Lucie, parts of St. James.
Well, Little Bristol, wasn't it?
That's what it was called. Yeah. So it was a hub. It's no longer that, okay? And I think one of the things that will be necessary, if we're going to, again, save Spikestown, we have to rebrand Spikestown, and we have to include a lot of its historical elements that would actually bring people to Spikestown again.
But getting back to that, audience, we have learned a little piece of history. Because even I, myself, did not know that Battalies is Battle Alley.
Yeah,
and it was a battle between the English and the French. Mm-hmm. And that those lavish houses there were actually barracks for the captains and lieutenants and that sort of the officers. Yeah. Right? So you see, on M.M Out There, you get to learn something. Right? So that's why you must tune in at all times. Now, we were talking about the situation now inside Spikestown, down inside. There are lots of people, believe it or not, who do not know about inside Spikestown, like where Bata was and Noel Roach and that sort of things. And I wonder why the authorities wouldn't just let the buses, when they're coming in from Bridgetown, come through there and go around, and when they're leaving, go the other side.
Okay. Well, let me address that to the point that, of course, you have to pay for progress. Okay. Mm. Spikestown paid for that because of the bypass. Okay. But here's what is necessary. There is a bridge just over by Fisherman's Pub that is not stable enough currently to handle that level of traffic anymore.
Okay.
Okay. It could if they reinforce it. All right. I think this area would become very, very congested if that happened again. Now, what we could do, which would be in terms of progressiveness of St. Peter, is to have in Spikestown smaller buses that are passing through the area that can shuttle individuals that are coming to do shopping and whatever to the bus terminal or back to where they need to be to get to their vehicles. So there are things that can be done to actually enhance what we're doing. But again, it's going to take a redevelopment plan, it's going to take a rebranding plan, and it's going to take bringing a stronger level of the historical effects of Spikestown back to the fore, so that many individuals who never knew what Spikestown was about back in the day with the Big View building and all these things can actually hear and know about what's happening.
Because you used the right word there, the right phrase, and you said back to the fore. Yeah. Because Spikestown, as I said, was called Little Bristol. And it wasn't just called Little Bristol for Little Bristol's sake. It was called Little Bristol because it was an image.
Well, it was called Little Bristol because of the trade that went on between Bristol in England and Spikestown. This is where the schooners would come from, Bristol. So that's the term Little Bristol. Bristol is still one of the largest shipping areas there in England. Yeah. And so Spikestown, because of that connection to Bristol, England, that's why that name came. So again, what we're looking at, you see the level of industry, you see the level of business that went on in Spikestown. uh, we've lost much of that. What is happening in Spikestown right now is there's a lot of entertainment. There's a lot of beach bars. There's a lot of things happening for a certain clientele. There's not a lot going on. I remember back in the day. Don't know if this will help, but I remember when the Haywoods village was established. The locals were able to go in there on weekends and interact with the tourists.
Yeah, because it has a disco or something.
They had the discotheque that was in there, and so the locals were able to go in there. This is one of the things, we've paid a dear price in Barbados for what we call tourism. Tourism has spiraled out of control in Barbados, and I think what is happening is that it is kind of forcing our people back into a sort of subliminal mental and financial slavery, where the jobs that people are being forced to do now are gardeners and maids and waitresses and waiters and chefs and stuff like that. They're being forced into a certain cadre of work.
But some of them seem to be proud of it.
Well, again, even though we have those businesses and we have those jobs, they're still very, very much the type of jobs that allows you to do, because I know, for instance, a gentleman, friend of mine, who was actually a gardener at one of the businesses here in the houses here on the West Coast, and each year the owner sends him and his family overseas. Okay, so there are benefits, even though it is what it is.
But I tell you, there are benefits. But you want to know something? My true spirit, I prefer Haywoods as how it was.
Okay.
With the sweet lime trees and the old road, right, and the sheep running around. Because when I went to the closing party, they were just sheep and coconut trees, and people would come for picnics from St. George and that sort of place. Yeah. I prefer it then than how it is now. Okay. That's just my opinion.
Well, again, you pay for progress. Okay, the essence of progress is change. Okay, and sometimes what we do is we manipulate changes in the wrong way. Sometimes it's too early, sometimes it's too late. Change has to be when change is necessary, and that's one of the things that I stick to, and I like individuals to understand that change is necessary when change is necessary.
Well, again, the apostle always speaks things that are true. Okay, but this change, I don't know. It's to whose benefit is this change?
Well, again, let me just say this about the element of change here in Barbados. If change is not implemented in a futuristic ideal, it will create failure. And this is what has been happening. Change that is not futuristic. Okay? Yeah. So change that is not futuristic will not help our children and our grandchildren, and it will not help our nation, and it certainly won't help St. Peter or Spikestown.
Okay, Apostle. Funny thing, whenever I'm talking to the Apostle, the time seems to run so quickly. So that time is up. So, but next Thursday, are you going to be available next Thursday?
I'll be available if you want me to be here. I'll be here.
Yes. So remember, next Thursday, we're going to be here again, and you'll have the benefit of some of the wisdom of the Apostle Leroy Scantlebury. Sir, very glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and I look forward to seeing you again
next time. Look forward to being here with you. Thank you.
M.M Out There, that's all for now.